Coming to Curiosity Stream, go on an adventure 66 million years in the making with Dino Week. From new discoveries about the dinosaurs we thought we knew, to the mind-blowing species still being unearthed, and the controversial discovery that could rewrite history. Did dinosaurs survive longer than imagined? Dino Week on Curiosity Stream. And with monthly, annual, and bundled pricing plans, find the one that works for you at curiositystream.com.
Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
Well, hello, my paranormal peeps, and welcome back to another edition of the Paranormal Podcast. My name is Matt Harvey. I am the founder and lead investigator with Deep Woods Paranormal. I am also the host of this podcast, the Deep Woods Paranormal Podcast. Today, we're lucky enough to have Kaitlyn and Chris, friends of ours, who we met just a couple months ago on investigation. They are psychic mediums. And we're going to have them kind of talk about themselves and explain what got them into the paranormal. So what got you guys into the paranormal?
It was something that I kind of grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember growing up and seeing things and hearing things and always experiencing things. And, and it just got to the point that I accepted it and ran with it.
Nice.
I had probably the same upbringing, but I didn't understand any of it until I met her, and she pointed it all out to me. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you guys had a very similar upbringing, kind of like I did, except my parents were not into the paranormal, and was like, no, we're not dealing with that. Our kids just nuts.
That's how my
already
parents
put me in a loony bin. But yeah, so we've been doing an investigation lately. I don't want to get into too much information, but you didn't want to kind of talk about what you have experienced at that investigation.
The first walk of the house, I remember you're like, hey, just kind of feel around, tell me what you think. And it was a lot of mixed at first, because I remember there felt like a lot of children traffic, like kind of playful, kind of fun, but there was always this dark, gloomy kind of fog in the background that I couldn't see. With my abilities, the way I see things is sometimes flash images, feelings, touch. Sometimes I can walk in a room and feel super sad. Like I'd immediately empathically just kind of absorb that feeling. And it's either a person or something, a paranormal. And so while in the house, I saw like little kid things. Remember at the end of it, I saw a little boy, a little checkered hat kid would just run on by. And that's all I saw was a checkered hat running by at a certain height. And it's like, had to be a kid because it couldn't, I don't think it's a leprechaun, but there seemed to be a lot of like playful hide and seek, kind of move things every now and then. And then the more we got into it, the more that shadow, that dark veil in the background, kind of faded for us to kind of let the kids go. But then when we came back to help her out, it was just nothing but that dark kind of mist into her house.
Yeah.
So we tried a couple of rituals on the Wiccan side, which is what I do now. We got it out for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that thing, like I said before, sometimes when you've been doing this as long as I have, and you've been through so many homes and so many locations, you come across that one negative entity that's just sitting there waiting for you. And the first time I believe this is an entity I've faced before, it basically kicked my butt. I mean, I talked to you guys about that a little bit earlier. If you want to hear about that story, it's somewhere back in our podcast. You're welcome to go back and listen. We're not going to get back into that, but yeah, I mean, this entity seems to not care about religion, not care about positive or negative anything. It just seems to be there, and it's super strong, and it doesn't seem to care about anybody else telling it to leave or anything like that. And because of this, the nature of this case, we were talking earlier about how it might involve voodoo. And so that's something that when I first got there, I got that impression. So a little bit of background about this case. I did some research. I actually I found physical records of a hotel that burned down in this area. The owner of the hotel, was not a very nice lady. She owned several slaves, and I'm pretty sure a bunch of the slaves, if not all of them, burned down with fire. And so I believe that's kind of like the little kids that we're encountering in our area. A lot of the times, the slaves weren't even up to teenagers. They were sold before they became teenagers.
Yeah.
And we were at another location where they were explaining this to us. And so I think that's where these little kids have come in, and they seem to like the client a lot. But then there's also that other entity. We've gone through and tried to figure out who it is and stuff like that. So
Definitely through the years, especially talking about this client, through the years, I've also very much noticed anybody who doesn't know they have abilities, they kind of make themselves kind of vulnerable. And so letting them know, hey, you have this ability, and because you have this ability at certain times in your life or before you fall asleep, you become this immediate lighthouse to all of these entities that have something to say or needs the attention or wants their last word to be heard or something. And when you have that beacon and that light up and you don't know it, it makes you a target. And it's very unfortunate. Like, I'm trying to teach her ways to make herself less of a target, but I think she just kind of attracted the wrong crowd for so long that now it's like we're digging layers out. And I think that's what we're doing between your process, our process. We're just going in there and digging out layers to where we can finally get to the root to the problem to give her that permanent rest.
Right.
You know?
Whatever it is,
it's pretty interesting.
That definitely rooted in pretty deep.
Yeah.
So one time,
whatever we're dealing with over there now, it's definitely rooted in pretty deep.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like every time we're over there, we're able to get it to a point where it's hidden to where we can't feel it. And then as soon as we're gone, it's back.
Right. It's using human spirits to do its bidding. And then basically it's just like a demonic case. But again, this thing does not care about religion, doesn't care about any of the rituals we've tried to do. It just only cares about basically continuing to bother the client. And me and you guys too. It's come after us a couple times. But no big deal. So, I deal with that stuff all the time. So essentially, we're going to continue to work that case and try and figure it out. Sometimes it just takes a while. I know I had a really nasty case when I lived in California as well, where we were there like almost every night from midnight to 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And the client actually had been raped by something unseen. And so finally, on I think the 29th day, we got a full body apparition, which we figured out later on wasn't real. We figured out it was something else, just pretending to be something. And then what also complicated it was on Indian burial ground. And so we were fighting the Indians and fighting this thing. And finally, we were able to appease the Indians and get them to help us.
They like this.
Oh, it was crazy. I mean,
they just offer them things, and Indians, they're a great ally if you treat them with the respect they require.
Yeah.
And I've one of the things I've told you is you've actually got a chief that fights with you constantly. I've seen him with you. I've seen the headdress.
Yeah.
We've talked about it.
Yeah, since you did that tarot reading for me, Kaitlyn also does tarot readings and stuff like that, and she's just amazing. Since you've done that, I figured out I've actually had conversations with him in my head. I've actually seen him. I know exactly what he looks like. He looks like just an old Indian warrior. And
whole headdress, so beautiful.
yeah, he basically tells me he's like, he turns into a bear. I said, are skinwalkers real? He said, yes. And he used to be one. And so he changes into a bear and stuff like that. So he fights as a bear. It's pretty cool. But
he says skinwalker. My skin crawls. I've seen what. Oh.
Yeah, when you're like us, when you've been doing this long enough and you've been aware of what's going on around you long enough, you tend to bring on other entities. I don't want to go into religious things, but you bring on other entities that are stronger than you and that can fight the battles for you. Because when we go into locations, mainly we're just trying to collect data and get any kind of information from wherever we're at, be it good or bad or whatever, or indifference. And then essentially we're trying to figure out, what to do with that data at the end of the investigation. And so it takes people like you guys and a little bit of me to basically figure out, what to do with that data and how best to help that client. And sometimes that data is misleading, as we found out. But this thing will not let me do any audio recording in the house. It's the weirdest thing.
It's that the thing that's in the house is very strange. I can't put my finger on it, which is odd because I can normally pick them up, but this one it's like a smoke or a slime or like a sheet. Every time I try to grab information, it just disappears in my hand. It won't let me. It won't let me. Sometimes it will block me. I think that you were there at one point where I was reading and it was good, and all of a sudden it just immediate stop. And it's like it's holding me back from saying things, and it's crazy because all of a sudden it's an instant stop. And sometimes it won't let me go. Sometimes it will. And this has happened multiple times before. It's not just this entity that can do it. A lot of them can. They just shut down, and they shut you down with it.
Yeah, been there, done that. So Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself. What got you into the paranormal?
Well, like her, I've experienced it my whole life. I just never realized it or really understood it. All the way as far back as when I was 5, my great grandfather died. I was 500 miles away when he died. On the phone, my mom was on the phone with my grandparents, and at the exact second he flatlined, my mom hears me in the background saying, "Bye-bye, I'll see you in heaven." And so ever since, little kid, I've had the ability to see and speak to them, but I never realized that's what I was doing until I met her, and it all started to make sense.
Yeah.
But
so tell us a little bit about what you guys, kind of do. You've met, and then how did you guys kind of come to, realize that each other were psychic or sensitive or whatever you want to call it?
He found out I was psychic on our first date. So we met on Facebook dating app, and we had, chatted, and we were going to meet up. I think it's almost a year on the 23rd of this month that we met up. And I actually was in a car accident that morning, picking up my sick daughter. So trust me, a lot of events happened before I even got to meet him. I was rear-ended in my F-250, which ate the Nissan. Truck had a dent. Can't beat an old Ford. And after I got into the accident, I stayed home from work, and he came to pick me up because I didn't want to drive the truck. And we had Mexican food. I had a couple margaritas, came here, and I was like, I want to give you a tarot reading.
Nice.
And I did a tarot reading, and I was able to pick up on his grandmother, his grandpa, his aunt, one of his other distant uncles. Like, I can see immediate family that kind of surrounds themselves around him. And
she was describing things that people outside of my family don't know.
Right.
And she thought it was going to scare me away, and it didn't actually intrigue me.
That's cool.
I seriously thought I was going to freak him out because, on a first date, all of a sudden, I get a little drunk and I'm like, you have this person that kind of stalks you. He looks like he fits in a door frame, kind of bald on top. Who was he? Like a father? I start asking him questions. He's like,
Yeah. It's always weird. I've had a couple situations like that where I've, been around people I don't know, and all of a sudden all this information gets flooded in my head, and I'm like, I'm not going to go talk to that person. Get somebody else to go do it. I'm not doing that. It's just made me uncomfortable, make me feel weird. When
you're out in public like that, you're that beacon, and all of a sudden, you have these people that are like, oh, they can talk for me. And then we'll get rough. And all of a sudden we're like information or pressure or people poking me. I'm just like, no, not today.
Yeah. So you guys have a couple spirits that live in your house. Tell us a little bit about the little spirits that live in your house.
Well, I've had George. George is a little boy. He's one of those little paper boys back in the 1940s. I acquired him on a house that I was cleansing. Unfortunately, so I cleansed the house, and the little boy almost got kind of trapped because they were salting in front of me. And so I trapped whatever I was trying to get out before I finished cleansing the home and doing my closing ritual. So George kind of attached himself to me. At that house, the roommate actually got possessed, and I did an exorcism over the phone, which was interesting. She did get out, the entity did get out, but George stayed with me for several years now, and he just kind of hides in the corner. He's a super sweet little boy. He likes my daughters. Like, he kind of hangs out around my kids' room because it's other kids, and I probably one of them has the ability. I just can't pin down which one yet, or if it's both.
Yeah.
They both say random things that you're just like, where on earth have you learned that? And but George hangs out, and then we've had a recent one, Claudia, a little girl, probably in the 1970s. She's what, 12?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
She likes to mess with him. It's the funniest thing.
What's funny is we picked her up at the jail.
Yeah, we picked her up at the jail. That's where she was.
Okay.
I think she was one of the warden's kids. Yeah, we picked her up at the jail, and she makes me clumsy. I don't know what it is. She just kind of makes my hand slippery, or I feel like I bumped into something, and she just likes a little bit of chaos. I don't know is it Claudia that likes to scare you?
Yeah.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
She'll move stuff when I'm here by myself.
Oh, jeez.
Like, she messes with the locks on the doors. Mm-hmm. She'll push something off the shelf. Only when he's home. Not when I'm home. It's quiet. The
first day I realized she was doing it. So I was just sitting here doing stuff at work on my computer. And we have those big chains hanging by the door that are for the deadbolts. And I heard it pick up and just slam into the wall.
Jeez.
Okay, I'm here by myself. And then, all the dogs were in the kennels because I hadn't been home for 20 minutes and I needed to get stuff done. And I hear something clawing at the door in the girls' room where one of the dogs is. And I went in there, and this kennel was wide open. He's running around the bedroom.
One of our puppy. Someone let him out of the kennel.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So that's why we think it's kid, because it's it's nothing malicious. It's just more of a hello.
Trickster.
Mhm. Yeah,
No.
we have that happen here too. Our door, like the door to our garage, the little thing will turn and lock. And Amanda comes in, why is the door locked? I don't know. I didn't do it. But yeah, I mean, and I told you guys about the TVs coming on and stuff like that. So anyways, so tell us a little bit more. You guys used to be Vikings, essentially. Tell us a little bit more about your past, if you will, and how you guys kept meeting and stuff.
So we realized pretty quick after we first got together that we have a lot of the same memories from the past.
Mhm.
And it was, nothing prompted. Like we could, think back into memories from stuff we shouldn't even know. Nothing that's happening in our present lifetime.
Like a prior life, like
Yeah.
reincarnation, like.
But we're able to describe almost the exact same memory.
That's so
And
cool.
from doing that, we realized that this is not our first encounter with each other.
I think this is our second or third that we've been in each other's lives somewhere.
That's so cool.
And we know, and at least one of those, we were married in the past.
That's awesome.
So he's more Irish,
And Nordic.
Nordic, Nordic. I'm more Scottish and more Celtic or Pictish.
Pictish.
Pictish, yeah. So he's more hardcore Viking. I'm more of a running through the field kind of witch.
Free spirit, yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, and several of our guides we realized are some of our ancestors.
Nice.
And I know for me, I have 2 or 3 that are very obvious, old Norse warriors or Celtic warriors. And there's one drunk Irish guy that likes to make an appearance.
It's like his great uncle. It's a drunk Irish guy that every now and then he'll start talking like him. I'm like, and I'll hear him every now and then. Anytime that we call it a family meeting. Like if we're about to go do something and we want extra protection, or hey, we're about to walk into like our client's house, we always ask our guides and we always ask our ancestors to kind of make sure we are safe and also that our family is safe, because that's the danger of doing this. And I love what I do, is sometimes they come home with you or they attack your family when you're not there. And I've had that happen on another case of mine. And my youngest daughter refused to sleep in her room because I brought something home.
Yeah.
So I always have like a family meeting. And it's the funniest thing that when his uncle comes in, the Irish, he does like, yeah, I can just hear the drunken yeah in the background. I'm just like, oh my God.
He will channel through me.
He does. It's funny.
We'll be talking. All of a sudden, I'll start talking with some random Irish accent. She's like, "Where did that come from?" I don't know what you're talking about. To me, I don't sound any different.
Yeah. It's talking through you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's been times where he completely took over and I'm sitting there talking to her, but it's not me talking to her because I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. We were going to talk about the entity, the client that me and you were working on. The day before, me and him had a good fight, which we don't normally fight. It's just not in our character to fight with each other. We had a fight. And then on our way to the client's house, he goes, I don't remember anything. What are you talking about? I'm like, what do you mean? We had you would remember this. And he doesn't remember that conversation at all. The whole thing. And so
most of that day, honestly, I don't remember most of that day.
So something, got to him that we weren't prepared to, but we also have to remember we don't prepare to go into these clients' house until almost last minute. And there's a reason for it. We kind of don't want to prep anybody, even the entities around us, to know where we're going quite yet. Because sometimes they already know, but we had prepped this and we said we were prepping it. And,
every time we've gone over to that house, we've encountered opposition days to up to a week before we even knew we were going.
Yeah.
And it's we know it's that because it's so out of our character. Because, he said, I would never say that to you. And he's like, I don't remember anything. And then there's times I'm like, why did I get so upset? I never get upset over that. I just think, sometimes some entities that don't want to be, escorted out nicely or not nicely, will try to get to you first in dreams and your life, trip you up, give you a flat tire, lose your keys, because they don't want to leave where they're at. And so they'll go after you sometimes before you even know you need to go after it.
Yeah.
And if you'll remember that first time we met up at that coffee shop in Bryan, that entity that started messing with us there, that kind of followed us home, that was not the first time we had encountered that entity. And we learned over the course of time dealing with them that we are definitely stronger when we're together. And it has been constantly trying to pull us apart to weaken us.
Yep. Well, with everything going on in the world right now, things are crazy.
Yeah, I'm definitely diving a lot more into my Wiccan heritage, my Celtic Wicca, and I'm making a lot more like spell candles. I'm trying to get my herbs together, and it's like a weird instinct that just kind of woke up in me. I'm like, ooh, I really need to start doing this. And through this, he's learning so much, and now I think he's finally seeing that he just got himself a new set of cast runes, which I'm super excited to see him.
Out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. A friend of mine who does holistic, and she's a Reiki master. She does holistic sprays and stuff. Her name's Kaitlyn. She's my Reiki master. She does Reiki with me. And she's like, yeah, I bought these like a couple of years ago, and I don't know what to do with them. Do you want them? Brand new, never used, wooden hand-carved cast runes. And I gave it to him. Excuse me.
That's so awesome.
He's learning how to cast runes like the Vikings. And then he's been interested in a tarot deck. And I need a new deck, but yeah.
I think I might have a deck for you. A little dark.
Huh?
After I left your house, I was just infatuated with those cards. And I know you told me not to play with them, but I'm like, oh, I went through and I bought a pair. I bought a set.
Just don't go buy them.
And I got them home. Like, I have no idea how to read these.
Well, luckily hers has a book that comes with it that explains what everything is.
But I'm also learning how to read not just the information that it tells me, but I'm also learning how to read the cards. Like now that I'm memorizing like what cups means, what coins means, what swords means, what the hermit, what the devil, all the cards mean itself. And then reading you at the same time, like as you saw that it's a process. I've actually just recently, I did last weekend. Remember I did that vendor and arts pop-up there in Huntsville at the old jail where we met. I did a vendor pop-up last weekend, and we actually had a tarot card reader there, and she was great. She does astrology too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I opened up the directions and I'm reading them. I'm like, this is like Chinese. Basically, it's an advanced deck, I think. You would probably go through and go, oh, yeah, this is cool. This is what this means. This is what that means. And I'm like, okay, what the hell is this thing? Excuse my language. What the heck is this thing? What does this mean? It's kind of a darker set. I think the cards are actually black and silver. They're really cool. Next time I see you, I'll give them to you.
Okay.
See if you want them and see what you can do with them. But it's a different type of deck. It's
yes,
more of a whatever. But I figured out.
I've explained this to you before, and this is my theory on how my psychic abilities and how they see things, and I think decks are the same way. They you've got some darker decks that kind of read a little deeper into one side. You've got lighter decks that read more into the light and the pretty fluffy stuff.
Yeah.
So, but when it comes to seeing entities and communicating with them, kind of like tarot cards, because you have to do both. I find I do both. you got different realms. Like sometimes you can see somebody here, but not real clear because they're really fuzzy. Sometimes I see people super crystal clear and have conversations with them. So I think they're just kind of at a different level, you know, different plane or different level, however you want to explain it, of what I can see, because what you can see, I can't see.
Yeah.
You see at a different plane than I do.
Yeah.
He sees at a different plane that I do. You know, so it's very interesting when all of us are together.
Yeah. No.
Oh my gosh. That when we all see things, but they're all different, but they all correlate, but sometimes they don't correlate at all. It's very fun.
Yeah. It's interesting when you get a group of sensitives or psychics or mediums in a room and everybody's seeing completely different things. It's just like, it's cool. And sometimes activity will pick up because of it. And it's like the floodgates are opened. But
yeah, I always get weary over some, you know, it's just a weird pet peeve of mine, some psychics. Like when we did the walk at the jail, we had that other psychic there. I had no earthly clue what she was talking about sometimes. And I don't know what she was seeing. I don't know. See, that's the thing. Is she on the right plane, or which plane is she at to see where she sees, which is where which is fascinating. But we couldn't connect with her to kind of really bounce.
Yeah.
Oh, that kind of information off of. She was very much on her own, which is fine. But I like to bounce that, you know, it's fascinating because it gives you more of a view.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like layering a picture together.
Here it is.
If you see one piece of it, it doesn't look like anything. But once you layer everything together, then you see the full picture.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like it. I like to have other people that are sensitive or psychic or mediums or whatever you want to call them come in, because like I asked you guys for a second opinion. I wanted to get your take on what you thought was going on in this location. And we're not going to share that because it's a private investigation. But yeah, I mean, the more I interact with people like you, the more I kind of learn. And, you know, like you were saying, we're all on different planes. I started out kind of on the same plane as you and slowly but surely moved up, mainly because of the demonic attacks that kept happening. And it's like, okay, we need to shut you off here, but we're going to move you up to here. Now you're going to see these things. It's like, oh, crap. Can I just go back to seeing spirits? No. So, I mean, I'm more of a guardian. I think Chris is definitely a guardian type. And then, you know, Amanda, my wife, is more like you, Kaitlyn. I think she's more of a seer and she experiences things. She just picks up on things and stuff like that. I don't think she sees them like we do, but I think she just picks up on the energy.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys. Well, we're getting to the point where we're almost out of time, unfortunately. But I want to thank Kaitlyn and Chris for coming on. We'll definitely have you guys on in the future. Going to invite you guys out to some Bigfoot investigations here. I don't know if I told you guys, but now
camping weather right now, so it's perfect for it.
Yeah, it's just a little too hot right now to go camping, especially solo camping where you're out, you know, on the ground. And so I've got this theory I'm going to try out, and maybe you want to go with me, Chris. We're going to put camouflage tarps up all the way around us, and then camp real close to anything Bigfoot related. That's and cool. Just see, that'll be Bigfoot stealth camping.
I'm down to do it.
Just see how they react. I've never seen anybody put up tarps and then camp right in the middle of their area. So it could be interesting, or we could be completely terrified by the end of the night. We might not even last the whole night.
Right. Go hide in the woods in a ghillie suit and see what pops up.
Yeah, I know. I've heard people with ghillie suits have encounters a lot. I've talked to a lot of hunters and stuff like that who have been up in a tree and they're sitting there and they go to hunt a deer, shoot a deer, and all of a sudden something comes walking out of the forest and grabs the deer and takes off.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, they one time it happened right after this guy. I think he was 200 yards away. He was up in a tree stand and he had just shot a deer, and out of nowhere from the other side of the clearing, this Bigfoot walks over, grabs the deer, turns and looks at him, and he said it was about 8 or 9 feet tall. And he said he could see it through his scope. And he said it just looked so human-like he didn't shoot it. He was going to. He was pissed. It stole his deer.
I know.
Yeah, but he didn't actually
was like, thanks, dude.
I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, but you should have shot that thing.
Yeah.
You know, he thought it possibly was a person in a suit, but it was just too big to be a person in a suit.
Yeah.
So then it walked off. It grabbed the deer, put it over her shoulder, and walked off, which is something I hear a lot from hunters.
I don't know a single hunter that could do that.
Yeah. I mean, depends on the size of the bullet. I mean, I've heard of people shooting these things with shotguns and then it just going into their fur. Probably buckshot, more than likely, hitting them with buckshot.
Yeah.
Them just basically turning and walking away. So yeah.
There's some tough animals out there. I don't know. I went hog hunting one time and we caught a hog in a trap, and I had to put about 12 45 caliber slugs in it before it finally died.
Damn.
It fought held on for almost an hour and a half.
Jeez. Yeah, hogs are terrible. You know,
Yeah.
they're fully aggressive. That's one thing that, you know, when we go out Bigfoot research, and we really have to be careful of, is not to have hogs.
You definitely never want to go out there unarmed.
Right. Yeah. Now, I think we are armed. I think you guys are as well.
Always.
So yeah, we'll be carrying when we go out there probably. But
Really.
all right, guys. Well, thank you again for coming on the show. We'll have you guys on maybe in the future and go from there.
Sure.
Sounds good.
All right. You guys have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, you know, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.